I had never seen the world so dark, so unforgiving. My wings, once golden and radiant, now lay battered and torn, nothing more than a reminder of a life I could never return to. "I've fallen," I whispered to the cold air, the weight of my own despair suffocating me. I had once been one of them, a being of light and grace. Now, I was a fallen angel, abandoned by my own kind. My heart ached as I remembered the love I lost, the betrayal that shattered everything I believed in. But even in the depths of my sorrow, there was something stirring inside me. A flicker of hope, a spark of redemption. I couldn't let go, not yet. Not when I had something to fight for. Her name echoed in my mind. Elena. The mortal woman whose love had been the reason for my fall. Would I be able to redeem myself through her? Or would the darkness consume me entirely? The road ahead was unclear, but I had to try. As I walked through the desolate streets, the storm raged around me. The heavens wept, as if mourning for my lost soul. I felt a heavy weight on my chest, the guilt of my actions dragging me down. I could still hear her voice, soft and warm, calling me from a time long past. But she was gone, and all that was left were the echoes of my mistakes. I had a second chance, but would it be enough to fix what I had broken? I had hoped that with each step I'd leave my past behind. But, as I moved deeper into the city, the memories of Elena, her voice, her touch, clung to me like an invisible chain. The world around me was unfamiliar, yet it felt like it knew my name, as though it recognized the broken soul I had become. But then in the distance, I saw something, a faint light flickering in the fog. It was a sign that perhaps, just maybe, there was still hope for me. Could I find redemption? Could I be whole again? Or was I doomed to walk this earth, forever carrying the weight of my mistakes? The rain fell harder now, and I didn't care. I stepped closer to the light, feeling the urge to follow it, to find something or someone that could help me. As I walked, I heard a faint sound, a soft voice calling out to me. "You're not alone." The words were a whisper, barely audible over the storm, but they struck me nonetheless. It was a feeling, more than anything, the sense that someone, somewhere, was waiting for me to believe in myself again. Maybe it was Elena, or maybe it was a sign from the heavens. Either way, I couldn't ignore it. I had to follow the light. I reached the source of the light, a small run-down church on the edge of the city. The door was ajar, and the warmth that spilled from within felt like a beacon in the storm. Hesitant but compelled, I stepped inside. The interior was dimly lit by candles, casting flickering shadows on the worn pews. The scent of incense filled the air, and a strange peace settled over me. As I ventured further into the church, I heard the faintest rustle, a figure moving in the shadows. "Who's there?" I called out, my voice hoarse from the storm and the weight of my thoughts. From the corner of the room, a figure stepped forward. A woman, her features soft yet strong, her eyes holding a quiet understanding. She was not afraid of me. Instead, she looked at me with something I hadn't seen in a long time, compassion. "I've been waiting for you," she said, her voice steady yet filled with warmth. "You've come here for a reason. You're seeking redemption, aren't you?" I didn't answer immediately. Could I really seek redemption? Could I earn back the trust I'd lost? I could see the questions in her eyes, as if she already knew the answers. But still, I hesitated. The weight of my fall was not something I could easily shed, no matter how kind her words seemed. She smiled at me, and it was the kind of smile that made me feel seen, truly seen. "You don't have to carry this burden alone," she said, stepping closer. "The road ahead will be hard, but you're not meant to walk it alone." The warmth in her voice made the room feel less cold, less oppressive. For the first time in ages, I felt something stirring within me. A hope I thought had long died. She wasn't afraid of me, not even of my darkened wings. She saw something beyond that. Something I couldn't quite grasp yet. "I'm not sure I'm worthy of redemption," I confessed, my voice barely a whisper. She nodded, understanding the weight of my words. "No one is perfect," she said softly, "but that doesn't mean we're beyond saving." Her eyes locked with mine, and for a moment I forgot about the chaos, the curse that had been placed on me. All that mattered was her presence, the promise of a chance at something better. Her words resonated with me long after she had left the church. The road to redemption wasn't just about magical power or physical strength. It was about believing in the possibility of change, of healing. It was about understanding that my mistakes didn't define me. As I stood in the doorway, the storm outside had finally calmed, leaving only the quiet hum of the world. I stepped out into the early morning light, feeling lighter than I had in years. The city was still as broken as I was, but for the first time in a long while, I felt like there was a way forward. I knew the journey wouldn't be easy. There would be obstacles, doubts, and moments of failure. But I was no longer alone. The woman had shown me a path, and I was determined to walk it, even if it meant facing my past head-on. And so, with a new resolve in my heart, I took my first steps toward the redemption I sought, toward the love I had once lost, and toward a future where my wings could soar once more. I stood at the edge of the cliff, the wind whipping through my hair, and the vast sky stretched out before me. It was strange. I had always avoided the world, hiding in the shadows, haunted by my past. Yet now, standing in the open, the possibility of redemption seemed within reach. But a part of me still clung to fear, that old feeling of being unworthy. I had done terrible things, things that no amount of good deeds could erase. But this was different. I looked down at my hands, the very hands that had once caused pain and destruction. Could I really undo all that? Could I make things right? I didn't have the answers, but I knew I had to try. The first step wasn't going to be easy, but the woman's words echoed in my mind. Redemption comes not from erasing the past, but learning from it. I closed my eyes and took a deep breath. I had no choice now. The world awaited, and so did my fate. I could either face the consequences of my actions or remain trapped in the same cycle of self-loathing. The journey to redemption wasn't one I could make alone. I needed someone to guide me, someone who could show me the way. But the thought of trusting another person again felt like a betrayal to myself. I had trusted before, and it had only led to pain. Yet when I thought about it, the one person I had never trusted enough was myself. As I walked through the town, I caught sight of her, the woman who had spoken to me that fateful night. Her eyes were filled with an understanding that I couldn't comprehend, as if she could see the battle raging inside of me. She had no reason to care for me, no reason to help. And yet, she did. "Are you ready?" she asked softly, her voice calm but filled with a quiet determination. Her question hung in the air, a challenge and an invitation all at once. Was I ready to take the next step? Was I ready to face the truth? I didn't know, but somehow, I knew I couldn't go back. The woman led me through the forest, the path winding between tall trees that seemed to whisper in the wind. It was strange how something as simple as nature could bring such a sense of peace. In that moment, I wasn't a fallen angel, burdened with centuries of guilt. I was just me. And for the first time in a long time, I felt the weight of my wings growing lighter. "Why do you believe in me?" I asked, breaking the silence. Her answer came as easily as the breeze that rustled the leaves around us. "Because I see who you could be, not just who you were," she said, her voice gentle but unwavering. It was the first time someone had seen more than just my flaws. Her belief in me was both a gift and a challenge. Could I live up to the hope she saw in me? I wasn't sure, but I knew one thing for certain. I had to try. As the days passed, I began to notice the changes within me. The anger that had once controlled me, the bitterness and the shame, all started to fade, not completely, but enough to see through the haze. I had never believed in second chances, never believed I deserved one. But with her by my side, I started to wonder, was redemption truly possible? The more I learned about myself, the more I realized how much I had been running from my own heart. I had pushed away love, friendship, even hope. But now, in the silence of the night, with the woman's hand resting gently on mine. I felt something I hadn't in centuries. Peace. But peace was fragile. There were still forces out there, dark and dangerous, who would stop at nothing to see me fail. And I couldn't escape them forever. My past was always waiting, lurking in the shadows. It wasn't over yet. The first confrontation came sooner than I expected. We were ambushed by dark creatures, remnants of the magic I had once controlled. I could feel the pull of my old power, a dangerous temptation calling to me. But I had to resist. I had to prove to myself that I was more than the mistakes I had made. The woman fought beside me, her bravery shining even brighter than the sword she wielded. We were a team, a perfect complement to each other's strengths. I could feel the connection between us growing stronger, the bond forged not only by magic but by trust. But trust was a fragile thing, especially in the face of an enemy that knew no mercy. With each passing moment, the battle intensified, and I knew the true test had come. The world had shifted around me. I wasn't just fighting for myself anymore. I was fighting for the chance to change, for the chance to earn a redemption that felt like a distant dream. The days after the battle felt like a blur. My body ached, but it was nothing compared to the toll the fight had taken on my soul. We had won, but at what cost? The dark creatures that had attacked were only a small part of something much larger. I could feel it, an impending storm, a darkness that threatened to swallow everything I had fought for. The woman, though still at my side, seemed different. Her usual confidence was now tinged with doubt. We had both seen the destruction of my past, the things I had done. But as the silence between us grew, I could sense her fear, not just for herself, but for me. "Do you think we can stop it?" she asked quietly one evening, her voice a whisper in the night air. Her question echoed in my mind, a haunting reminder of the weight on my shoulders. Could we? I didn't know. But I would fight, even if I had to do it alone. The quiet moments were always the hardest. As the woman and I trained together, I could see the cracks in her own resolve. She was strong, capable, but I could see the fear she tried so desperately to hide. And it wasn't just the battle. It was me. My past, my mistakes, haunted her. She carried the weight of them, just as much as I did. "I'm not sure I can keep doing this," she admitted one evening, her voice barely audible, barely above the rustling leaves. "What if we lose? What if we're not enough?" I knew that fear all too well. It was the same fear that gripped my heart every day. What if everything I did, everything I tried, wasn't enough to erase the darkness I had caused? What if redemption was just a dream, a fantasy? "I don't know," I said, my voice filled with sorrow. "But I can't stop trying." The path to redemption was never linear. It was full of twists and turns, moments of doubt, and moments of clarity. But as we moved forward, I began to realize that I was not the only one seeking redemption. The woman had her own scars, her own battles she hadn't shared with me. She had fought, loved, and lost, just as I had. One evening, she took me aside, her eyes filled with vulnerability that I hadn't seen before. "I've seen the way you struggle with yourself," she said, her voice soft, almost like a confession. "But you don't have to fight alone. I'm here, not just as your ally, but as someone who understands." Her words broke through the wall I had built around myself. For the first time, I allowed myself to lean on her, to believe that maybe we could face this together. It was terrifying. But I knew, deep down, that I couldn't carry the weight of this world by myself. The battle was nearing. I could feel it in the air, a sense of impending doom that weighed heavy on my heart. The forces we were facing were unlike anything I had ever encountered, dark magic that sought to destroy everything in its path. I could no longer deny it. My past had caught up to me. The very magic I had once wielded in arrogance was now the weapon being turned against me. And the woman, the one I had come to love, was at the center of it all. "Are you ready?" she asked, her voice steady despite the chaos surrounding us. "We've come this far. We can't turn back now." I looked into her eyes, the weight of the world on my shoulders. "I'm ready," I said, though I wasn't sure if I meant it. But I had no choice. I had to be ready. For her. For us. The battle was like nothing I had ever experienced. Magic clashed with steel, and the world seemed to shake with every strike. We fought side by side, our connection stronger than ever. But I could feel the darkness closing in. The magic that had once been a part of me was now turning against me. In the heat of the battle I saw her, the woman I loved, struggling to hold her own against the dark forces. A surge of panic coursed through me, and I pushed forward, breaking through the chaos. "Stay with me," I shouted, grabbing her hand as she stumbled. She looked up at me, her eyes filled with both fear and determination. "We will make it through this," she said, her voice firm. "Together, Nintendo." And for the first time in my life, I truly believed it. The war was over, but the battle within me raged on. Victory had come at a great cost. Lives lost, bonds broken, and a darkness that seemed to creep into my soul. I had fought for redemption, for love. But now, all I could feel was the weight of the consequences. The woman, standing by my side, had been my anchor throughout it all. But even she could see the toll it had taken on me. "You've given everything," she said, her voice full of concern, her hand gently resting on my shoulder. "But you can't keep carrying this weight alone." I wanted to tell her that I could, that I would. But deep down, I knew she was right. My past was a shadow that would always follow me. "I don't know if I can ever be free of it," I whispered, the words escaping before I could stop them. Her eyes softened. "Then we'll find a way, together." As we walked away from the battlefield, there was a sense of finality in the air. The war had ended, but the scars it left were only just beginning to heal. I had lost so much, yet somehow in the woman's presence, I found the strength to keep moving forward. But there was still a question lingering in my mind. What now? What was left for me after everything I had done, after everything I had destroyed? Could I ever truly find peace? "I've seen the way you look at yourself," she said softly, her voice full of understanding. "But you have to know that you're not the monster you think you are." I looked at her, surprised by the sincerity in her words. "How can you say that after everything?" "Because I see the man you've become. And that man, he's worth fighting for." Her words struck me like a bolt of lightning. Maybe, just maybe, I could believe in the possibility of redemption. It wasn't long before I realized that healing wasn't as simple as I had hoped. The world around us had changed, and with it, so had we. The memories of my past still haunted me, the weight of my actions too heavy to ignore. But in the woman's eyes I found something I hadn't seen in a long time: hope. "We'll rebuild," she said one night, as we sat together beneath a star-filled sky. "Not just this world, but us. Everything we've lost, it can be found again." Her words were like a balm to my broken heart. Maybe I wasn't alone in this fight after all. Maybe, with her by my side, I could face whatever came next. "I want to believe that," I said, my voice filled with both hope and fear. "You will," she replied, her hand gently squeezing mine. "Together we can rebuild everything." Days passed, and the world began to rebuild. The scars of war were still fresh, but with each passing day, the land grew a little greener, the people a little stronger. And in the midst of it all, I found myself learning to forgive. Not just the world around me, but myself. The woman had become my constant, my anchor, my strength. She had a way of seeing the best in me, even when I couldn't see it myself. Her belief in me was a light in the darkness, and it gave me the courage to keep going. But then one day, she pulled away. Her eyes, once filled with warmth and love, now seemed distant, clouded with something I couldn't quite understand. "What's wrong?" I asked, concern flooding my chest. "I'm scared," she admitted, her voice barely a whisper. "Scared that the past will always haunt us. That no matter how hard we try, we'll never truly be free." I reached for her hand, pulling her close. "We can be free," I said, my voice filled with quiet conviction. "I'll make sure of it." As the days grew shorter and the weight of the world seemed to lighten, I realized that I had finally found what I had been searching for all along: a sense of belonging. The woman had taught me that redemption wasn't just about forgiving others, it was about forgiving myself. We had both been broken, but together, we had found a way to heal. And though the road ahead would never be easy, I knew that as long as we had each other, we could face anything. "Do you think we can be happy?" she asked one night as we sat together beneath the stars, the world around us peaceful and still. "I don't know," I said, looking at her with a smile, "but I'm willing to try." And for the first time in a long time, I truly believed that we could. The world had changed, but so had I. The days of battle, loss, and despair were now behind us, replaced by the soft rhythms of rebuilding and healing. We had come so far, but the echoes of our past still whispered in the corners of my mind. Yet in her presence, I had found something I thought I had lost forever: peace. She had become my everything, my home, my heart, my reason to believe in something greater than the ashes of what I had once been. But despite the peace that surrounded us, I knew the storm would always linger, just beneath the surface. We had won, but the price we paid would never fully fade. She looked at me one evening, as the sun set in a blaze of colors, and said, "We've made it this far. Do you think we'll ever truly be whole again?" I smiled, though the question weighed heavily on my chest. "I think we're already whole. Maybe we always were, we just had to find each other." The seasons passed, each one marking a new chapter in our lives. The land healed, the people rebuilt, and we found our place among them. There was no grand celebration, no parade for what we had done. Instead, there was just the quiet satisfaction of knowing we had done something worth doing. As the months wore on, the woman and I grew closer, and in that closeness I discovered what it meant to truly love. It wasn't the grand gestures, the fireworks of passion that once defined my life. It was the simple, everyday moments: a touch, a smile, a shared look that spoke volumes. One evening, as we sat together beneath the vast expanse of the sky, I turned to her and said, "I used to believe that love was a weapon, a force to be wielded, but now I see it for what it is: a refuge." Her eyes softened, and she rested her head on my shoulder. "It's everything, isn't it?" "It is," I replied, my heart full in a way I never thought possible. Time had passed, but the question that had once haunted me still lingered in the back of my mind. What does it mean to truly be free? I had fought for freedom, for redemption, for peace, but I had come to understand that freedom was not something granted or earned. It was something we chose every day, in how we lived, how we loved, how we moved forward despite the weight of our past. And I had chosen it. I had chosen to forgive, to rebuild, to love. One evening as we walked through the quiet woods, I stopped and turned to her. "We've been through so much, but somehow I feel like we've only just begun." She looked at me, her eyes full of warmth and understanding. "Because we have. Life, love, everything. It's an ongoing journey. And as long as we're together, there's nothing we can't face." The world we had rebuilt was far from perfect, but it was ours. And for the first time, I could see the beauty in the imperfections. The land was scarred, but it was alive. The people were broken, but they were healing. And so were we. I had come to understand that redemption was not a destination, but a journey, one we would walk together, step by step. And in that journey we had found something more precious than any victory: love, peace, and a sense of belonging. The woman turned to me one night as the stars glistened above and asked, "What comes next?" I smiled, pulling her close. What comes next is everything we choose to make of it. And for the first time in my life, I knew that whatever came next, I would face it with her by my side. In the end, I realized that the true battle had never been about winning or losing. It had never been about fighting the world, or even myself. The true battle was about finding peace in the chaos, love in the darkness, and hope in the midst of despair. And in the woman's arms, I had found it all. Together we had created something beautiful, something worth fighting for. And though the journey was far from over, I knew one thing for sure: we had already won. The future stretched out before us, vast and uncertain, but with her by my side, I had everything I needed to face it. The land was flourishing, the wounds of the past slowly but steadily healing, but new challenges began to rise. Life had returned to a new rhythm, one of quiet resilience. The people had begun to rebuild, but the work was never truly finished. The scars of war may fade, but the memories linger in the minds of those who lived through it. I often found myself standing at the edge of the village, watching the people rebuild their homes, their lives. In these moments of stillness, I wondered what the future would hold. Would the darkness we had fought against return? Would I be able to protect this fragile peace? One evening, as we sat on a quiet hill overlooking the village, the woman turned to me and asked, "What are you thinking about?" I sighed, my gaze fixed on the horizon. "I'm thinking about what comes after this. The peace we fought for, is it enough? Will it hold?" Her hand found mine, and she squeezed it gently. "We've created something beautiful, something lasting, and that's enough. We don't need to worry about the future. We just need to keep choosing to make it better, together." As the years passed, we learned that peace was not just the absence of war. It was the constant, tireless effort to nurture what had been broken. It was a delicate balance between holding on and letting go, between remembering the past and embracing the future. In the quiet moments, I could still feel the weight of my past on my shoulders, but I had learned to carry it differently. It no longer defined me. The love we shared, the life we had built, that was what I clung to now. One day, while walking through the village, a child ran up to me, her eyes wide with awe. "Are you the angel who helped save us?" she asked, her voice full of wonder. I knelt down, smiling softly. "I'm not an angel," I said gently. "I'm just someone who learned that love can heal more than anything else." The child smiled brightly. "Then you're even better than an angel." I stood up, her words filling me with a warmth I hadn't felt in a long time. Perhaps in the end, it wasn't about being perfect. It was about being present, being human. It wasn't long before the world around us began to evolve in ways we hadn't anticipated. New threats emerged, ones that couldn't be fought with sword or shield. The battle now was one of understanding, of uniting diverse peoples who had once been divided. The true fight, it seemed, would be for the hearts and minds of those who had witnessed the horrors of war. And yet, despite the challenges, I felt more equipped to face them. The woman and I, side by side, had learned to approach the world with compassion. And though the future was uncertain, there was a fire in me now that I had never known before. She turned to me one evening, her face lit by the flickering light of the fire, and said, "Do you think we'll ever be able to teach others what we've learned? To show them that love can heal even the deepest wounds?" I took her hand in mine. "I think that's our purpose now," I said, my voice steady with conviction. "To share our story, to show them that redemption isn't just possible, it's essential." Her eyes met mine, full of belief. "Together, we can show them the way." The days turned into years, and though the world around us continued to evolve, I found that the lessons we had learned were timeless. The importance of love, of unity, of hope, these were the values that we passed on to those who came after us. The legacy we created wasn't one of fear or sorrow, but of strength in the face of adversity, of compassion even in the darkest times. And in our quiet moments, we continued to rebuild not just the world, but ourselves. The past still lingered, but it no longer controlled us. We had found a new beginning, one that was forged not through battle, but through the courage to embrace life, even when it was uncertain. One evening, as we stood together on a quiet hill, watching the sun set over the village, the woman asked, "Do you ever wonder if we've done enough?" I wrapped my arm around her shoulders, pulling her close. "I don't know," I said softly, "but I know we've done what we could, and that's all anyone can ask." The world we had built together was not perfect, but it was ours. It was a world that had been shaped by love, by the choices we made, and by the resilience we had shown. The battle was over, and in its place, there was something even greater. The promise of a life rebuilt, a future forged from the ashes of our past. One last time, as we stood together at the edge of the village, I turned to the woman who had been my heart, my soul, my guiding light. "Do you think we'll ever truly be free?" I asked. She smiled softly, the weight of her love filling me. "We're free now," she said, "and that's all that matters." I looked out over the horizon, the world ahead of us full of possibilities, and for the first time I knew without a doubt that the future was ours to shape. The world had settled into a delicate peace, one that had been hard-earned but was still fragile. The villages we had rebuilt, the communities we had nurtured, all stood as symbols of what could be achieved when people chose to come together. But there were moments, late at night, when I would lie awake and wonder, could we truly protect this peace? Could we truly protect each other? The future, while promising, remained uncertain. New challenges loomed on the horizon, ones I couldn't yet see but knew would eventually arrive. And still, despite the lingering doubts, there was a quiet strength within me, a conviction born from the love we had fought for. One evening, as we sat under the canopy of stars, the woman beside me sensed my unease. She reached for my hand and said, "What's on your mind?" I looked at her, her face illuminated by the soft glow of the fire. "The future. It's always just out of reach, isn't it? No matter how hard we try, we can't control what's coming." She smiled, her grip tightening on my hand. "Maybe we don't need to control it. Maybe we just need to face it together." Months passed, and as we continued to rebuild, we faced a new kind of challenge. It wasn't a battle against armies or enemies, but against doubt, fear, and division. People were beginning to question what we had built. They wanted change, wanted more, wanted something different. And though I had fought for peace, the question now was, what kind of peace were we creating? The woman and I walked through the village one evening, the setting sun casting long shadows across the stone streets. As we passed familiar faces, I could see it in their eyes, a hunger for something greater, something beyond what we had achieved. "You can feel it too, can't you?" she asked, her voice low. I nodded, my gaze distant. The world isn't the same as it was before the war, but it's still struggling to find its place. Peace doesn't come easy. She looked up at me, her eyes filled with determination. "Then we'll help them find their way, together." It became clear to me that we could not remain passive in the face of unrest. The world we had helped rebuild was at a crossroads, and we were the ones who would have to guide it forward. But as we moved toward this new purpose, a question weighed heavily on my heart. Were we capable of leading without falling back into the darkness we had once known? One night, as we stood at the edge of the village, looking out over the land we had saved, the woman turned to me and said, "Do you ever wonder if we're the ones meant to lead this new world?" I turned to her, surprised by the question. "I've never thought of it that way. Maybe we don't need to fight for redemption anymore," she continued. "Maybe our redemption lies in helping others find theirs, in leading by example." Her words struck me deeply. Perhaps we had been fighting the wrong battles. Perhaps the fight wasn't just about our own healing, but about helping others heal as well. As we worked to unite the fractured villages, I began to see the power of what we had been trying to build. A community not bound by past mistakes, but by shared hope for the future. It wasn't easy. There were moments of doubt, of resistance. Some refused to let go of their pain, while others tried to hold on to the old ways, the ways that had caused so much destruction in the first place. But we pressed on. Every day we worked to heal not just the land, but the hearts of the people. It wasn't perfect, but it was progress. And in the quiet moments when I watched children playing or people coming together to share stories and laughter, I saw something that reminded me of why we had fought. It was the future, unfolding before our eyes. One afternoon, as we sat together in the village square, the woman looked at me and asked, "Do you think we'll ever get it right? That we'll finally find peace?" I smiled, though the question was still a heavy one. "Maybe not right away," I said. "But every day we choose love over fear, kindness over hatred, we get closer." As the years continued to pass, the world around us began to flourish in ways we never thought possible. The village, once scarred and broken, now stood as a symbol of renewal. People from all walks of life came to see the place where hope had been restored, where peace had begun to take root. And in that renewal, I finally found the answer I had been seeking. Peace wasn't about the absence of conflict. It wasn't about avoiding the darkness. Peace was about creating something worth fighting for. It was about the people, the connections, the love that we had chosen to give freely to each other. One evening, as we stood together once again, overlooking the village, the woman turned to me with a quiet smile. "Do you think we've done enough?" she asked. I looked at her, my heart full. "I think we've done more than enough. And it's only just beginning."